And good morning to you. It is 6:23 here on a Thursday morning. So with layoffs all across Las Vegas, a lot of you are certainly trying to make ends meet now during the coronavirus. And one concern we've heard from you is, what about my rent? What about my mortgage? How do I pay my bills? And for a broader look at sort of your legal obligations and what you can do to protect yourself, we're joined this morning by Jim Berchtold with Legal Aid of Southern Nevada. Jim joins us live on Skype to talk more about this. Jim, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
So I can imagine you guys have gotten a lot of phone calls as a nonprofit helping people sort of navigate these uncharted waters. Just talk about some of the calls and some of the concerns that have been brought to your attention in the Valley.
Well, as you can imagine, we're seeing questions across the board. People are scared, they're confused, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. So a lot of the questions we're seeing are really financial questions, not necessarily legal, but they certainly have a legal component. Landlord-tenant being one of the biggest issues we're seeing. What do I do if I've been laid off and can't pay my rent?
So let's talk about that. What can people do? We've talked about this sort of this holding pattern for evictions in Southern Nevada, but it's not the same elsewhere in the state. It's kind of a hodgepodge right now, it seems like. What can people do?
Well, so we're really recommending a couple of things. In most places, it does vary around the state, but at least in Clark County, most evictions are on pause right now. So it really is a time for people to use that pause and take stock of their financial situation and prioritize that financial situation. A lot of lenders have programs right now that they can reach out to their lenders and see if there's a program to skip payments, but it really is an opportunity to figure out what your financial situation is and prioritize it. So if you have rent, for example, rent, utilities, food, those are your priorities. Everything else is probably secondary. So reach out to those secondary creditors. If you have medical bills, if you have credit card bills, reach out, see if you can make a payment plan. But as far as priorities go, if you can pay your rent, pay your rent. The worst thing that can happen if you get sued on a credit card bill is you could potentially get a judgment against you, which you may or may not have to pay. But if you don't pay your rent, you could end up on the street. So prioritize and make sure you're addressing the most important financial obligations first.
Even though there's this pause with regards to evictions, I'm wondering, have you gotten at Legal Aid calls from people who say, despite that pause, landlords are still trying to mess with them, still telling them, giving these ultimatums?
We are, and that's why we're really encouraging people to get to know what your rights are. We are seeing landlords who are still continuing to issue eviction notices, even though technically they can't obtain an eviction. The eviction notice will tell the tenant to go down to the court and file something in opposition, but the tenant may not be able to get to the court, and the court may not allow them to file at this point. So we here at Legal Aid Center, we are operating phone lines. We are responding to people by email. The Civil Law Self-Help Center at the courthouse is similarly providing phone service and email service. So if you have a question, reach out and ask it. There are people waiting to help. But yes, we are seeing landlords who are telling tenants that they can just simply lock them out, that the evictions are still going forward. So it really is on the tenant to figure out what their rights are.
Jim, we're running out of time a little bit here, but very quickly, yesterday Legal Aid, the ACLU, a lot of other nonprofits sent a letter to Governor Sisolak asking to take action on this. What are you hoping the governor's office can do?
Well, we're hoping that the governor will do something statewide. Right now, it is a hodgepodge around the state of what the different courts are doing and how they're interpreting this pause that's on evictions. So we're hoping that the governor can come out with something statewide and make it uniform to really get rid of the confusion that is rampant across the state right now.
And with all the people that are out of work, we heard the jobless claims earlier this morning. A lot of people are in this position. Jim, thank you for joining us. If people have any questions, just go ahead and reach out to Legal Aid of Southern Nevada. They do some great work over there on a lot of different issues. Appreciate it, Jim. Thanks.